Assalamu alaikum students, this is Farwa Batul, your O-level computer science instructor, and welcome to another video of chapter number 8 programming. Okay, so here we are doing activity 8.4 in Java because we already covered this in Python and Visual Basic. If you are doing that languages, you can go ahead and watch the previous videos. Now, this video is all about doing Java. Now, in this activity, it is written that in the high-level programming language that your school has chosen to use, write and run a short program to input a number and check if that number is equal to 1, 2, 3 or 4 using the case construct or alternative where appropriate. Now look at this. What is being done here? First you have to use the case statement in Java. Why are we using case statements? Because there are more than two options. If you remember, if then else allows you to go to two different paths. Two different paths means that whether you can have if condition to be true or whether you have to choose the path of else if the condition becomes false. But when you have more than two options, then you have to go with case statement. What are you doing in this activity? This is the user that is going to enter some number into the screen and you have to check what option did he enter. If the number is 1, you must be doing something else. If the number or choice is 2, he must be doing something different. If the choice of the user is 3 or he enters 3, then the program goes somewhere else. And if he chooses 4, then definitely something else is going to happen. So it means that the program is giving the user 4 different options to select from. So in this particular activity, we just need to check which number the user has entered. If the user has entered 1, we will just say that you entered 1. If the user has entered 2, we will tell the user you entered 2. If he enters 3, we will display a message that you entered 3. And if he enters 4, we display that you entered 4. So these are the 4 different choices. And if the user didn't enter any number, then we can just simply say that it is an invalid choice or invalid number that the user has entered. Now let me just quickly show you the code of Java to do this. Okay, here we go. I have already did everything for you. Let me just quickly explain you what is this about. The first thing is in Java, remember that when you have to take the input from the user, you have to import the library called java.util.scanner. Why? Because you have to use the scanner class that is responsible for taking the input from the user. Okay, so once you import the library, the next thing is your main class. Inside the main class, you are having the main method where you will start your programming. This is by default. If you are using any of your editor, the by default code will be there, the main class and the main method. Inside the method, you can just start your programming. So the first line of code here tells us that you have to make an object my obj of the scanner class. So my obj is going to have your input value. It is going to get the input value, and remember that this is the object of the scanner class. And how it can take the input value? Because if you see over here, it's written system.in. System.in is basically indicating your input statement. This input statement is basically helping us to take the input from the user and to save it in my obj. So this is my obj is basically the object of your scanner class, and that's why you have imported the library at the very top. If you see here, import java.util.scanner, because you have to make an object for a scanner class in order to take the input from the user. So every time you are taking the input, you must mention this line. You must initiate an object for the scanner class in Java. Next thing is system.out.print. That is your, let me erase this. This is your output message or the output statement that is showing the user. a display message, please enter the number. So on the other side, when you're going to run the program, the user will see a message, please enter the number. So this is what actually the user is going to see on the other side when you run the program. That's your first display message. Once the user will see this, let's suppose he's gonna enter something, 32, let's suppose. Now what will happen, since he entered something, so system.in is going to detect the input value, and it will be saved in my obj. And what will be done next, look at this. Int is basically the keyword for integer. Then there is a number, that is a variable. It means the next thing is to declare a variable that has a name number, and it must be having any whole number that the user enters, because the data type is integer. Integer means that it can have a positive number, a negative number, a zero, but it can never have a decimal value. So the user must have to enter a whole number, either positive or negative. Now, int number is going to have your input, but the input must be integer. My obj, once my obj is going to have this input value, then this value must be converted into integer, because by default, whenever the user takes some input, or sorry, when the user gives some input, the input is a string. And in order to convert it into an appropriate data type that you want to use, you have to use this method for the scanner class. For with the object, you can use next int, next boolean, next string, next char. So it is up to you. If you want an integer, if you want your input to be an integer, then you must use next int method with the object of a scanner class, my obj. So it will convert the 32 as a string from string to integer. And what is the difference? Why are we doing this? Because for a string, it is just characters. You cannot do any multiplication, any addition, subtraction, division on a string number. It is just a character for you. And you can also not do any comparison like double equals, greater than equals, less than equals, greater than, less than. You cannot use them in different conditions for case statements and for if then else. So that's why we are doing this. Now, if it is an integer value, we can do some any arithmetic operator on them. We can do any comparison operator on them. It's like that. Okay. Now, once you do this, I hope that this line is clear to you. Let me just explain it quickly. First, my obj is going to receive the input number. Then you will use next int method to convert it into integer value. And finally, once it is converted, then it is stored in the variable named number. Okay, next let's start with your switch case. Switch is the keyword that you have to mention, and after switch in the bracket, in the round brackets, you need to mention the variable that you have to assess or that you have to check. So number is the variable that has the input value. So we will write number in our round brackets, and then remember that in Java you are using curly brackets. So look at this. This is the curly bracket that I have to use, and if you open the curly bracket, remember to close it. Okay, so this closes here for the switch case, and if you can see, the main method curly bracket is here, which closes next to the switch bracket, and the first curly bracket was this one, that is for the main class that closes at the end. So in Java, it is very, very important to close each of your curly brackets that you open. Okay, so now let's see the different cases. Case 1, then case 2, then case 3, then case 4. Why there are 4 cases? Because you have to check for 4 different values. Case 1 means if there is 1 in number, if the number is having a value 1, then this case is going to be true. And once case 1 is true, then the user will see a display message system.out.println, and the message is you entered 1. So when the user enters 1 as an input, it will see a message you entered 1. Then this break keyword is very important to go out of your switch case. So every time when the case ends, you have to write down this break keyword in Java. Next, case 2. In case 2, and remember to put this colon. Sometimes we are doing small mistakes that that is a trouble in executing the program. So you must know that what you have to do actually. So every case 2, then a colon here. Then you must know that what you have to display system.out.println when the user enters 2, the message to be shown to the user is you entered 2. Then there is a break, and after break you must provide the semicolon. Next, case 3 means that the number is 3. Then it will show a message you entered 3. Then there is break and semicolon after break to end your switch case. Case 4 is basically when the user enters 4 and it is displayed that you entered 4 when this becomes true. Remember that only one of these values will be true because the user must have to mention only one number in the input. So it can be 1, it can be 2, it can be 3, it can be 4, and what if it cannot be any of this? If the user didn't enter 1, 2, 3, 4, let's suppose he has entered something else. So for this, you are using the default keyword. If you remember that in Visual Basic, we have used case else for that. And in Python, we have used only else keyword for that. So this is how the syntax is being changed in different languages. Here we are using the default keyword, which means that if user didn't enter 1, 2, 3, 4, then what to do? Just display a message that it is an invalid number. This is how it is going to work. I hope that all of these instructions are clear to you. Now I'm just going to IntelliJ, that is my IDE for Java. I have already pasted the whole line of code here. You can see that on your left side there is a source folder. When you make a project on IntelliJ, you have all of these folders. Where you have to code, you have to go to source folder src. Inside that you have a main class that is open here on your right side, and you have to do your programming there. At the very top you can see that I have imported the library java.util.scanner. Next, in the main class, you have the main method where you are going to program. Okay, so next, let's start with our code that I just explained you. First, you make an object for scanner class to take input. Then you show the display message, please enter the number. Then the number is converted into integer value to be stored in a variable named as number with the data type integer. Next, you have switch keyword, and inside switch, you are going to check the value of the number variable. So that is written in your round brackets. Next, you will open the curly bracket and start with your different cases. Case 1 means that the number has value 1, so it will say you entered 1. Same goes for 2, 3, 4, and every case has a break once the message is displayed. Next, finally, you have default. Default means that when there is an invalid entry or invalid option that the user has selected. So you must tell the user that it is an invalid number. This is how it is going to work. Now let me just quickly run this from the top right corner. Here is your start button. Okay, let's run the program and see the result. Okay, if you can see down, it's written, please enter the number. Let me just enter 1 here. You can see the message is displayed. You entered 1 is your message that is present here. This is how the program runs. Let me quickly run it again. We will run it 4 times to check each of these cases are working properly or not. Let's run it again. Please enter the number. Let's press enter 2. Sorry for this. 2, enter. You entered 2. Let's run one more time. Stop and rerun. Okay, this time I enter 3. You entered 3. And finally, number 4. You can do something else, depends upon your program. In different cases, we have different work to do. 4. You entered 4. Just keep it simple. For this activity, I have just displayed the message according to the choice. Please enter the number. Let's suppose this time the user enters 6. That is not your case. So it will be written invalid number. That is basically the part of your default invalid number. So thank you so much for watching the video. I hope that everything is clear to you. Thank you so much. Stay tuned, stay connected. Do not forget to subscribe the channel, because in the next video, we are going to start with the topic of iteration. Take care. Bye bye.